We're well past the middle of May now, so it's time for another gardening update. The Swiss chard from our fall and winter garden is almost 5 feet tall now and is flowering. I'll be trying to save some seeds from that soon. We've got a few peas in some 10-gallon grow bags. This first one is called Lillian's Caseload. It's a shelling pea. Just beyond that is Sugar Ann Snap Pea. We really like that one a lot, and we've already eaten quite a few. In the last grow bag, we have a snow pea called Snowbird. This one is very productive, as you can see by all the pods and blooms on it. We have things growing in 3 of our straw bales, and the first one we have Korean Gold sweet potatoes. In the second straw bale, I have 3 tomatoes planted. In the middle is Shimo Furry, which is a variegated type tomato. And on the ends, we have a tomato called Geranium Kiss. This year, I'm experimenting with 6 different types of bush beans, and 5 of them are planted in these 10-gallon grow bags. Next to the beans, we have some dill, which I'll transplant when it gets larger, and some cilantro, which I'm going to succession plant. Then we have some basil and some fennel that's pretty hard to see because it's kind of dark. There's one of them right there. Then we have other 10-gallon grow bags that are planted with things like beets, carrots, spinach, some peppers, and more radishes. I planted radishes 3 different times. That's called succession planting, and it spreads the harvest out over a longer period instead of planting them all at once. I planted the other 2 batches in a 10-gallon grow bag. As you can see, the radishes on the right are much larger than the ones planted later on the left. I usually plant petunias in this hollow log, but this year I'm planting a Shimo Furry tomato plant. It's a dwarf tomato that kind of sprawls out and is used by some in hanging baskets. Out in the main garden, in this first row, we have Bundaberg Rumball, Purple Rain, another Purple Rain, a dwarf called Sleeping Lady, and then on the end, for the first time in a while, I'm growing an indeterminate slicer called Giant Belgium. I have a section of cattle panel that I'm going to use for a trellis to grow some cucumbers on back by the fence here. I set it on top of some bricks to keep it from rusting when it comes in contact with soil. In the next row of tomatoes, we have another Giant Belgium, Tasmanian Chocolate, Baronia, Rosella Purple, and then finally on the end, Bundaberg Rumball again. Pretty close to one of the tomato rows, we have a row of spinach. Then we have Chichimasai planted on the end, and 3 different types of lettuce. Those will start to bolt before the tomatoes need more room. I planted 2 eggplants this year. One of them is called Long Purple, which has been a very productive type for us over the years. The other is called Real Black, and I might try to cross those, I'm not sure yet. Not too far away, I have some green beauty snow peas planted. I put the tatsoi from our fall and winter garden over here, and it looks like I have some seed pods that are about ready to save now. And a couple of ladybugs, trying to make more ladybugs. I planted some Seychelles pole beans around this large tomato cage. I dug a trench around the cage, and then I put the beans in the trench, and then filled above the beans with some potting soil. Not too far from a row of peppers, I have some carrots planted, and those carrots will be harvested about the time the peppers need more room to stretch out. In the third straw bale, I have 2 different types of sweet potatoes planted. I have 2 red garnets and 2 of a purple variety that I got from Trader Joe's. In this row of peppers, we have Giant Marconi, a cross between Black Peach Chupantino and Nymphadora. Then we have Yellow Monster, which is a sweet pepper, Berry Amarillo, and beyond that we have Sugar Rush Stripey. In the next row we have Mocha Swirl, Aconcagua, Ajicachucha, nymphadora crossed with devil's claw, and orange swirl. In the third row of peppers are Trinidad perfume, candy cane chocolate cherry, twister, bingo, that's an off phenotype, it's pink, and finally a nymphadora. I have 6 types of garlic growing in these 2 rows out in the main garden. Then I also have 2 types of garlic in a grow bag, one from the farmer's market and one from the grocery store. Then I have a soft neck type back by the fence that's also from the grocery store, for a total of 9 different types of garlic. We also have some peas out in the main garden. This first group here are snow peas, and the second half of that row are sugar and snap peas. We also have a very short row of Lillian's caseload shelling peas. We also have 2 rows of corn, and it's kind of come up unevenly, and I'll have to work on that later. In and around the corn rows, we also have a massive amount of amaranth volunteer plants. Here's our largest amaranth volunteer plant. I transplanted that there, and I think I'm going to let that one grow. The rest of these tiny plants will probably be considered to be weeds, and I'll remove those. As you can see, we've got lots of amaranth plants everywhere, and there's even some that are very tiny that haven't grown much yet. I'll probably take a hoe to those very soon. Not too far away is our rhubarb that's stunted a little bit because of our drought. To the left is a clump of oregano. I might move that, but I haven't made up my mind yet. There's a clump of chives, and there's our largest rhubarb. I found a tiny potato about the size of a pea, and it's growing in that one pot. Then we have our 7 grow bags with potatoes in them, 2 each Yukon Gold, Kennebec, and Adirondack Blue with 1 mixed bag. Then there's that bag with the garlic in it, 2 different types. And this year we have lots and lots of peppers because of all the pepper projects that I have going on. This really dark pepper here is one of my crosses that I did with my Midwest Midnight Orange. The green one there, I did a cross between an Aconcagua and a Courbaki and crossed that with another cross, making a 4-way cross. This is an F2 that's a cross between a Courbaki, which is a sweet pepper, and a Midwest Midnight Eclipse. There's a couple of more small ones there. I'd like to go into more detail about some of these crosses, but if I did, I'd end up with about a 30-minute video, and I don't think anybody wants that. So at some point, I'll probably have to do a pepper video and go into a little more detail about some of these projects. Most of these projects are in the very early stages, so I still have a lot of work to do. Some of these little mutants here have pretty dark foliage so far, and I think they'll just keep getting darker as they're exposed to more sunlight. I even saved seeds from a candy cane, and I have some F2 candy canes growing just to see what would happen. Among all of those peppers, I have a single tomato plant that's supposed to be a micro. We'll just have to see about that. I took the Courbaki and Midwest Midnight Eclipse and crossed that with an Otapino. I also crossed an Otapino with a Courbaki, and surprisingly, those were very hot. These are the F2 generation of a Courbaki crossed with an Aconcagua. I also crossed one of my F1s with a 4-way cross, creating a 6-way cross. We recently received an awesome gift from our niece. It's a green stalk planter. I only have 3 levels put up so far, but I'll put up the next 2 levels very soon. She has her own channel on YouTube, so if you want to check that out, I'll put a link down below in the description. Her channel is called Ani's Prairie Garden. The Orioles are very plentiful this year, and we've been going through about a half of a jar of jelly a day. One way we can tell that they're out of grape jelly is when they show up at the hummingbird feeders. Be sure to let us know how your garden's doing, and if you're just now finding this channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.